Brad, thanks for your time today.
My pleasure.
A lifetime in motorsport. There was the open wheeler, the sports sedan, production cars, ultimately into touring car variations, but I want to start to focus on the family aspects of all this. So you drove for some big names, but ultimately you decided it was better to catch and kill your own and run your own operation. So instead of putting a helmet under your arm and going to the airport here and going to one of the big cities and driving for one of the teams, which you could have done up until probably relatively recently, you decided to bring the mountain to Muhammad and do Brad Jones Racing with your family. That's a huge decision, and at the time a lot of people thought that's a bit weird, but I reckon as history now shows it probably wasn't a bad decision.
It's not something you actually sit down and make a decision on the spot about. I used to cop a lot of flack about my family and the involvement they had in my racing career when I was younger, and people would always try and separate you from that. I used to go away and drive for people, and then I'd have my own show going with my brother, and he was one of the building blocks of right from the very beginning, and I never felt comfortable cutting him loose, to tell you the truth. I didn't think it was the right thing to do, and we're a very close family, we always have been, and it just started to grow.
But you squabble like cat and dog.
Yeah, but that's what brothers do. I mean, how many brothers work together every single day of their life for 30 years? So it's taken a long time, but clearly our strengths and weaknesses are opposite, and so it's a good combination.
Summarise Bradley. He's very driven. He does things a little differently. He's a control freak. We work very well together, and when you have a look around us, starting from really my backyard with 4 jack stands and a production car that was leased, to get to where we got now with all these people and everything that we've done, I think the combination worked very well.
Lift the lid at Brad Jones Racing and there's a Brad, there's a Kim, there's Kim's son Andrew, there's your son Macaulay. We've sadly lost him these days, but once upon a time there was Phil, your dad, as well. So there's a huge amount of Jones energy in there.
Yeah, and you have some really funny times and you have some very tense times. The great thing about family is you can sort problems out that aren't always that easy to sort out with employees or employers, and then you can move on to the next thing, and there's not that residue of bitterness. So we can sort things out, but
and they're cheap.
And they're not always, as it turns out. But they believe. They're believers, and I think that's a really important part of this game. You've got to surround yourself with people that can get the job done and can support you and want to help you get to where you want to go.
We once had a person working here that probably described Kim and Brad very, very appropriately, in that what you see with Brad on the TV isn't necessarily what you see, well, what Brad is like in real life, and vice versa with Kim. Kim comes across probably quite hard and probably quite cold on TV, whereas the reality of it is Kim is probably the happier-go-luckier of the two, whereas Brad has this thing where he comes across quite happy-go-lucky, whereas Brad's very driven and very determined, and the two of them together make I think, a pretty strong combination.
Me and my dad are very close. I don't think you'd find two people that are closer. So he's always been there to support me in anything that I've chosen to do, and he's backed me to the hills. So, but it's not just my dad. It's Kim there and Andrew. They've helped me through my career so far. And I remember my first go-kart was probably a 20-year-old kart, and Kim was the one to convince my dad to get me a new one. So it's been a big family thing.
Has Macca got it?
I think he's got it, but I'm his dad, so it's hard to know. The proof will be in the pudding. It's too early to tell, to be really honest. I think I watch my race cars go around and go through the highs and lows and feel good or bad, but I watch him go around and I feel exactly like I did when I was in the car, and it's hard to relay that experience to someone, to tell them how that gut-wrenching pain feels when things are bad, and the euphoria when it's all going so great. So I hope he has. He works as hard as anyone I've ever seen on it, which doesn't always mean you're going to be successful, but he does try pretty hard. So I know we'll see.
As far as the future and Brad Jones Racing, you never want your kids to have to do what you've done to get where you are. And I can't see the business getting any easier going forward. If anything, maybe it's going to struggle a little bit. You know, there's a little uncertainty. It's about what the future's going to hold and where we're going to sit and how it's all going to work. I hope Macaulay gets to the point where he does strive on his own and go and drive for other people and do other things. Andrew, he's got a young family and my grandkids, and he basically runs the development series program at the moment, and that's part of the training going forward. So I suppose whether this is their chosen course or not their chosen course, it's sort of a bit like we've gone through our whole lives. There's nothing planned.
Are you the heir to the throne?
I doubt it. No way. I look at no, there needs to be two for starters for it to continue on. You know, you can't argue with yourself the way those two argue with each other. I remember a few years ago an argument about a phone bill, and you can't throw your own phone at yourself, can you? So, look, it'd be nice. It'd be nice if there was some evolution, I guess, to the place, and it'd be nice if it was able to stay within the family. Whether or not that's going to happen, who knows, mate.
Half an hour ago, we drove into the court where your workshop and facilities are sitting. You said, it's a big deal, isn't it? It's a big show.
Yeah,
and it is.
I
mean,
we've got
it's
three
trucks and people.
yeah, and a lot of people, and it just grows. I mean, it's funny how it's ended up. I probably work harder at it now than I've ever worked in my life. Being a race car driver is a very selfish occupation. You know, you're very focused on what's going on in your life. How do I become better? I want to win. How do you help me? You know, try and get everyone around to make you the very best you can be, and you win, and they dine off that. So, it's for me, retirement has been throwing that energy, but being nowhere near as selfish into what's going on with my business, and you know, I love going to work every day. I'm up and into it, and I stay there as long as I have to, and I do enjoy my life a lot.
It's been fun to share a moment today. I'd like to continue the conversation at another point, but thanks for your time.
Thanks, Dan.